It's taking forever to load. All right, here we go. Hey, welcome to another edition of Blue Jay Banner, sponsored by West Pacific Dental Group, Infusion Brewing Company, BlueJayBanner.com. And today we're going to talk about Croker Management to helping us out a lot with the selection show last night and also our pregame shows coming up this week. Joining me is Ross Ferrarini. Hey, Ross.
Hey, how are we?
Great. Let's give the first big news for Ross. He's calling in to a tournament game this week with John Bishop on the radio. So everybody tune that in, listen. That's awesome. Hope you have a long stay in Lexington.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. That's the goal is to be there till Sunday.
How cool is that? You might call a game against Auburn. That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty big deal. Yeah, it'd be fun. I've done countless games with John at this point. And obviously, as most of our listeners know, John gets gets real rowdy on the call, but he's so good at what he does. But I'm imagining him even turned up a little bit more of a notch on Thursday for sure.
All right. So what first? Let's just start with Creighton. What do you think of the draw?
Um, the I go back and forth. I think that the committee. I even mentioned this to you last year. I don't even think they know what they're looking for anymore. They have so many different talking points depending on which one of them is on which talk show. No one even really knows what's most important to them anymore, it seems. Um, Having said that, I think they must have just thought my resume clearly, the Kansas one, obvious, it didn't hold up, which is frustrating on our end. UConn and Marquette were good teams in a very, very similar boat as us. They were not great teams. And, we were up, we were able to get one on St. John's, but ultimately just, I'm a little disappointed. We're on that 9 seed line, although we kind of thought we were going to be in this game. I think maybe some of us thought that if we got to the championship game, there's a chance we could get up to the 7, but I'm more stunned that we're playing Louisville on that 8 seed line that most people thought were going to be at the very least a 6 seed. Now I looked at their resume again today. It's really not as impressive as you would have thought. They just kind of took care of business in the ACC, beat Clemson a couple of times. Um, Obviously the chatter today on social media seems to be the Carolina stuff, which I mean that's about as in my opinion, the Carolina one's about as bad as it gets over the past few years. And we've had last year, where I thought they did a really poor job with a lot of the different bubble teams last year. And I don't have as much of an issue with it. The bubble teams for the most part this year, except the Carolina one, I thought was egregious for them to just basically, do their friend, who's the committee chair, a solid and put that program in over a program like, our friend Darren DeVries at West Virginia, who I thought earned it. It's just, but whatever. We could go back and forth on that all day.
Well, no, you make some great points. I think, yeah, North Carolina, Louisville are the two talking points, but you're talking about Louisville's resume, and that's interesting because, yeah, again, to what you just said, that you don't know what they're looking for. Trust me, as a bracketologist who has seen, his accuracy go down the last couple of years, and I think a lot of that's due to the fact that when I started this, they're looking for totally different things now than when I
Right,
started.
right.
We used to take the resume, we'd see who you played, we dig down a little bit, how many top 25, 50. They don't look at any of that stuff anymore. It's all
Right.
metrics and numbers. And I think it takes all the fun out of it for me. I don't like,
Sure.
you know, so we just add up a bunch of numbers and why don't we just have a computer just spit it out for us that if that's what we're going to do? I mean, it's crazy.
Hmm.
Um, well, the big news today was that he got $100,000 bonus for them making the tournament.
Yeah, it's
And the conspiracy theorists are out there now. Yeah, he's not in the room. They made it. They made it all. He's not in the room. Well, yeah, but he's at dinner. He's at lunch with him. He
yeah, you
talks
end
with
up
him.
being there, but you become buddies with guys. I liken it to, okay, you're on a bachelor party with 12 guys and you're just having a blast for 3 straight days. But these guys, you're getting along with everybody and it's just awesome. And at the very end, something happens where you want to do right by one of those guys, you're going to do right by one of those guys. I mean, those guys are with each other all year. They're talking, they're watching games, and they all probably, I'm presumably getting along decently well, and they're going to do right by their buddy. They just are. It probably helps North Carolina is the brand name, but at the end of the day, I mean, I thought that was as bad of a one as we've seen from them in a long, long time. And people were pretty up in arms last year about them putting Virginia in. People thought that was crazy, and that turned out to be true. That was crazy because they performed so badly in Dayton. But I mean, this one's even more egregious than that.
Yeah, yeah, and one of my brackets buddy who Kerry Miller, who's a Duke fan actually, he put them in. I'm like, Kerry, I didn't know you put them in. He goes, yeah, well, they just every year they put an ACC team in, which you say, what? Why is that ACC team in there? But back to Louisville a second. Um, yeah, so I had them like on the 8-7 line, and
Hmm.
I actually thought, the problem all year long for us bracketologists has been we had five teams for the 6 line, five teams for 7 line, five teams for 8 line. So somebody had to go, and this time it was Creighton, right? So it's just the way it worked out. And but I moved Louisville up because when you compared them to Clemson, which is probably not this isn't a right way to do it, but you compare them to Clemson, you're like, those two teams aren't 3 C lines apart, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
you know, and so it is what it is. And they got screwed. They did get a gift being able to go to Lexington. Um,
Well, that's the
actually,
thing. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, there's always some, crazy ones every year as far as either location or seed or bubble teams or whatever. And it's impossible to keep things perfect. And a lot of times it's just how the way the cookie crumbles. But gosh, I mean, you couldn't get a worse
yeah,
draw as far as location than Creighton got when you're playing. And again, it'd be one thing if you're playing a team that traditionally is just an okay program and maybe they just have an okay fan base. But this is not that case. This is like an elite program going back decades that has an elite fan base, and they're right in their backyard. So this is not a
yeah.
fun one to get.
Well, somebody talked to me about this. Like, oddly enough, we brought this up like a month ago. I was talking to somebody, and they said, who's familiar in that part of the country, and they said, you know, it's in Lexington, and just view this: if we had a regional here, okay, and Nebraska was in it, the Creighton season ticket holders get tickets.
Hmm.
A lot of them would be cheering against Nebraska. So his theory is a lot of those fans in that building are going to be cheering for Creighton and against Louisville.
I've
So
heard that too, but my thing is that those
I don't
tickets,
think it'll be a
yeah,
majority, but
and those tickets are expensive, and so my experience has been that people are always, especially if you get kind of first dibs, like if you're a Creighton season ticket holder in Omaha and they come to Omaha and you see the prices that you can get um, above what you paid for them originally, and it's usually significantly higher than what you paid. Most people are going to part ways with them. They're not just going to say, "Oh, you know what, I'm going to go because I want to root against Louisville."
yeah.
So I expect there to be a lot of Louisville fans there, and it's
Oh, I do too. I'm just throwing that out there. That oddly enough, this came up like a month ago, and
right. And it's
so let's
frustrating. Well,
go
sorry,
ahead.
I was just
No,
going
I
to
just want to
finish by
get
saying,
your thoughts. Get your thoughts on Louisville and how Creighton matches up with them.
yeah, yeah. I was going to finish that by saying with as far as us going there too, for people from Omaha, it's obviously not an easy place for us to
Right,
get to
right, right.
because there you're gonna have to connect somewhere. So you're basically gonna have an all day travel day, whatever you choose to come. So hopefully we have an okay fan turnout. I think we always kind of do at this point at the very least, but we'll see. As far as the team is concerned. Talented guards and wings. Obviously, most people from around here are familiar with Chucky Hepburn, who was a star at Bellevue West and went on to Wisconsin and then transferred to Louisville. He hit the buzzer beater on, gosh, what day was that? Was that Friday? I think he hit the buzzer beater against Stanford.
He went to Bellevue West, right?
Yeah, went to Bellevue West.
Well, if he's on Mac, he saw Mac in his presser face at Bellevue Houston. I'm like, what? What did
Yeah,
I
yeah, he
miss
went to
here?
went to Bellevue West. Really, really good player. I've been watching him a long time. Obviously, he kind of came up in the past 5, 6 years of high school basketball here, and high school basketball in our city has been really, really good. So He's a really talented kid. He's one of those guys who just really knows how to play the game. And he's really, really good defensively. I mean, we're talking about like an elite on-ball defender. I mean, close to, if not at or better than Sharif Mitchell level that we had. And he's very smooth, offensively, high basketball IQ, capable shot maker, not an elite three-point shooter, but um, they had a huge injury to start the year. Gosh, what was the name of the kid that got hurt for them? He was kind of a real versatile 6'9", 6'10" kid that could do a whole lot of stuff, but they've kind of weathered the storm without him. Javon Hadley is another one of their top players, wing. They've just got some guys that can really play. Rain Smith is the other guard, the kind of the lefty shooter that's had a really, really good year for them as well. So Kayshawn Pryor, that's the one that they lost earlier in the year, who was a really good player, 6'10" kid who could really do kind of everything. But they're going to be a tough out. They play hard, and it's interesting. Coaches. This is an elite coach. Pat Kelsey has kind of shown this is year one here at Louisville, and he won a lot at College of Charleston, and he's winning ASAP at Louisville. This is
Yeah.
going to be a really tough out.
Talk a little bit about the interior, because obviously that's the Big East. Everybody knows Kalk and knows his weakness, strengths, how to play him. So I think Kalk sometimes gets frustrated because so many people take away things he can do. What does Louisville have inside?
Well, they've got the main kid that they play is the sophomore kid, 6'11". James Scott is his name. He came over from Charleston with Pat Kelsey. He's offensively, he's not a guy I don't think we need to worry about a ton. You go through his game log. I mean, he had 16 at SMU in January. I think that was his high for the year. Yeah, it looks like that was his high
So
for
is he
the.
more of a shot blocker type?
Yeah, he's kind of tall, rangy, athletic player. It's obviously when you're 6'11" and you're athletic and you play in the ACC, you've got a little bit of a head start defensively on Kalk. It's hard for a lot of people to guard him, but he can at least probably sit down in the post and guard a little bit one-on-one. It'll be interesting. I haven't watched much film on them in depth yet. It'll be interesting to see if they're a team that is willing to double the post much. Um, and probably a good guy to watch for that is the game that they just played against Stanford and Maxime Reynaud, who's a really talented big for Stanford, and see if they doubled him at all. But yeah, we've got to I think we've got to make shots. It's not, a groundbreaking take by any stretch. Obviously, you got to make shots to win the game, but
Sure.
uh,
Comes
we
down to
haven't,
that every
we
game, right?
haven't, yeah, we haven't made shots. I don't think really at a high clip here for a while now. We've really kind of struggled from the 3-point line, and I think if we can get a little bit of momentum early, it kind of reminds me of like. Now, this isn't exactly apples to apples because this game is so much closer than that one was. But I remember, a few years ago when we played Kansas in that second round game, and we were basically like, we have to make shots. There's no other choice. Like, we have to see a few threes go down early to go build some momentum, and we can maybe stick around. And that's exactly what happened. We hit a whole bunch of threes early in the first half and kind of gave us some confidence and stuck around a little bit. Now, this team is deeper than that team was at that point. That team had a lot of injuries at that stage. They were playing a much better team that actually ended up winning the national championship in Kansas. This Louisville team is
Yeah.
not that. So
Right.
if we can see a couple go down early, I like our chances to build some momentum.
Yeah. And I don't know the ACC when I watch it, that a lot of teams don't play a lot of pace. So I think that'll be a key for them for us to push the pace and make the game at our
Yeah,
pace.
yeah. This Louisville team actually they'll run with you a little bit more than some others. I mean, this is a team that just on Torvik this year they're 89th in the country in tempo, so they'll certainly run a little bit with you. They shoot a lot of threes though. I mean, these guys, like I said, they've got some really strong guards and wings here with Chucky and Terrence Edwards and Javon Hadley and the Rain Smith kid especially. I mean, Rain Smith shot 277 threes this year. That's a good that's a good amount of threes. And how many games they play?
Yeah.
34. That's a lot. You're basically taking 9 threes a game. So now these guys are capable shooters. I mean, from a 3-point percentage, on the year, they don't have a single one of those four guys between Hepburn, Edwards, Smith, and Hadley. Not a single one of them shoots over 40%. Rain Smith shoots 38% on that many attempts, which is pretty good. And Hadley's not really willing to shoot much of them, but he's a 38% three-point shooter. The other two guys, Chucky and Terrence, are 33. So we'll see. Hopefully they have a cold night.
Mac, he'll play those percentages and take something
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just move on global because I want to get this before you have to go. So yeah, we talked a little bit. You said it's worse. You've seen John Rothstein put out there, and he generally is pretty down the line and doesn't go on. He said this is the most egregious thing he's seen in 20 years of North Carolina getting in and West Virginia,
Yeah.
Indiana staying out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the thing that bugged me was when they went to them and said, "Could you talk a little bit about?" Then he passed it off to the vice chairman, which is fine because the vice chairman was in the room, and the vice chairman all he said was, "Well, if VCU would have been, or who was it, Memphis would have been upset, then they would have been, North Carolina would have been out." Well, that's not the answer.
That's not the question that was asked. Well, then
And then I guess later they came up with, well,
Tucker
Torvik
was hurt. Yeah.
Torvik really had them ranked way up there, North Carolina. Okay, I get it. Then Torvik had Memphis ranked 61st. Why did you give them a 5 seed?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Like,
good point.
like they were so inconsistent. They seemed, if you go down, I did that today. If you go down the net and just run the net down, I mean, they on the top 40 teams, they were only off by 6 things on the net over 7 times, 7 of the 40. I mean,
Hmm.
it's unheard of.
Well, yeah, they kept but this is where I kind of go back to earlier. I get frustrated because they kind of just dance around answers and they don't even
Yeah,
seem to really know what the real answer is. I mean, quite honestly, the real answer, if somebody wanted to give a legit answer for West Virginia being left out, which they shouldn't have been, they have a better resume by a mile than North Carolina, but one that I could at the very least, listen to is after they beat Iowa State in mid to late January. I think it was like January 18th. They really haven't been that good since then.
no,
So that's the only thing I'll listen to. And
yeah.
their wins came against not the top of the Big 12 at all. I mean, they went one, two, three, they went six and it looks like they went 6-8 since January 18th.
Well, compared to some teams, compared to like a Purdue, that's not that bad.
Right. But the wins were
So,
not against the strong teams in the Big 12. So
right.
that's the
And
only thing I would listen to. Like the Tucker thing that I heard, I thought was so
ridiculous.
ridiculous. I mean,
Ridiculous.
they
What
won
a
without
cop out.
Tucker. They won without Tucker. They beat
That's
Iowa
like
State
saying
without
that's
Tucker.
like saying, well, Creighton's not any good because Pop Isaac went down. Well,
Yeah.
they won 15 games in the Big East since then. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Their metrics are actually better after he got injured. And Tucker's a great player, and was a leading scorer. But I mean, I didn't look at him like, oh my God, he's their superstar.
Right.
They had other guys around him that were very capable players.
Right. Right. I feel for, I played for Coach DeVries, so
Yeah,
still keep in touch with him a little bit. I feel for him. It's no fun. Um, yeah,
it's
it is
just
what it is.
ridiculous.
But
Just ridiculous.
so
Um,
what do you think about our chances against Auburn?
if we get that far,
Hmm.
well, I would say this. I think of the 4 number 1s, they're the one I would think has the worst shot of advancing to the say Final Four, not because of their draw necessarily, just because they have not played all that great here. Duke's look great when Flag's in the lineup. Florida's been unbelievable. Houston's
Yep.
just rolling. Auburn's kind of hit some speed bumps here.
Well,
And
they've lost three of the last four, but to three pretty darn good teams.
oh, no doubt, no doubt. But you know how that wears on a team, and I look historically, and Bruce Pearl has had a way of not getting it done in the NCAA tournament. So um this, so I think, hey, if they're not making shots, Broome will be an interesting matchup with Kalkbrenner, but
Yeah. They're really what worries me about them is they're really good defensively. They're
yeah.
big, they're athletic.
But hey, we just got done playing St. John's twice in about 3 weeks, so
That is true. That's true. And that's good practice for sure playing that team. But We'll see what happens. I hope we get there, obviously, and then you kind of just, I honestly, it's the NCAA tournament is so fascinating, and you see it a lot with the conference tournaments over the past week. Teams do kind of like clam up a little bit if some pressure is applied because they know they're done if it ends.
Yeah.
And nobody, I mean, that game a few years ago against KU, I mean, gosh, we were double digit dogs and we had a kind of a skeleton crew. We were only playing five, six guys and because we had injuries and it was basically just like, go let it fly and see what happens. And you kind of get to play with a certain like level of freeness at that point. And, you know, hopefully these guys, I mean, we've got guys that are willing to shoot and and try and make big shots. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Got anything else before you gotta go?
I'm kind of thinking about, looking at the rest of the bracket. It's sort of amazing to me, just like the public sentiment on teams. I mean, everybody was so down on Michigan going into the Big Ten tournament and, citing that statistic about them and all the close games and this, that, and the next thing. And then, of course, they go on and they win the Big Ten tournament again in a pretty strong field and come back yesterday from down double digits late and beat Wisconsin, who was playing great. And now it seems like they are the trendy upset pick is to pick UC San Diego versus Michigan. And
Yeah.
I just don't see it. Um, and I'm trying to think this year if I think of some of these teams that I think are vulnerable on the high seed lines. I one that really piques my interest is Coach Huss and High Point playing
Yeah.
Purdue.
Yeah. I like that. Now, unfortunately, yeah, and that's the other thing we got screwed on. You just don't ever want to play the very first game of the tournament because if you win, it's great. But if you lose, it's just like a sledgehammer coming down.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is looking forward to
Everyone else
their
is
game and you're
playing, and
done.
yeah, and you're already done. And it's a Thursday.
That's
Yeah, it's a Thursday
and they're
morning, and you're
playing the
done.
same time as Creighton.
What, say that again?
High Point's playing the same time as Creighton.
Uh oh yeah, they're like the very next game.
Yeah, they're like 30-minute tip after Creighton starts. So,
Gosh, it's gonna be
gosh,
fun.
I really was looking forward to that.
Who's a team on the non the okay, so the top 16 seeds, so the top all the one through four that's outside the four seed line that you think has a chance to make some noise and get in the final four.
I don't really see anybody to be honest with you. I think I got to tell you, and me and Austin talked about this last night. As well as Xavier's been playing. Now they're in a playing game with Texas, and then they go Illinois. I
Yeah,
can see them winning those, and now they're in. Who's on their bracket on that side? The 3 seed over there is
Kentucky.
yeah. They can beat Kentucky,
Yep.
and the next thing you know, they're playing Tennessee for the right to go to the Elite Eight.
No, I'm with you.
I mean they could do that if they keep playing the way they've been playing. Now their problem would be like running up against like Kentucky would be a perfect style game for them. It would be 110 to 105, but they run up against Tennessee and they're so good defensively. Xavier's not good defensively, so that's going to be a problem.
I'm gonna give you one that I can't even believe I'm about to say this because they ended up, especially the back half of the year, not having
Uh,
nearly as good as you would think. Um, Big Chat. But Tim, the one real quick I'll give you before I got to run, and you can talk with chat is I think if Marquette's making shots, man, I really
yeah,
think they can. I really think they can give Michigan State a game in that second
yeah. I think
game.
people are picking Marquette to lose that first one, and I'm like, nah, they're too long. And I'm with you on. I told Chat this last night. I'm with you on UC San Diego. There's Rocco Miller is big on the mid majors. He's like, oh my god, these two teams they'll kick anybody's blah 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 blah. And I watched the biggest championship, and Dave and I over Brackville, we were texting one another going, yeah, I don't think so. He said, well, then his excuse was, well, this is the third time they played. I go, Rocco, that happens in every conference. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's not, we can't go down that route. But hey, Ross, have a good time in Lexington. Have a great
appreciate
call.
it. Thanks,
We'll be
thanks,
listening to
guys.
you. All right,
See you
man.
guys.
See you, Ross. That's Ross Ferrarini, the color commentator of the Creighton Blue Jays in the NCAA tournament. Chat. Did you know that?
What's going on?
He's doing the games on the radio with John
Oh, nice. He's
Thursday,
been doing it
Saturday.
all
Yeah,
year though.
yeah, yeah. No, but he's going to the tournament, so that's
Nice.
Stormberg apparently couldn't go. So
Love it.
yeah, that'll be fun. How you doing today, buddy?
Boy, how are you?
Hey, you're just in time. I just want to we mentioned our sponsors, West Pacific Dental Group, Infusion Brewing Company, and last night Croker Group sponsored our selection show. If you haven't seen that, I tweeted it out, but you can go right here on the YouTube channel and find it. We've had a lot of people viewing it today. We had a lot of great information on there about the teams and just about trends when picking a bracket. So if you're maybe kind of new on picking a bracket, you've done it, and you're not doing very well. Hey, it's worth a look, man, because there's some good tips in there to maybe what some
Oh
things
yeah.
you're doing that's not allowing you to be successful. But they sponsor us. They're going to sponsor we're going to have a pregame show. I just want to mention this. We're going to have pregames on Thursday and Friday, 10:30 to 11. They'll be live. They'll be broadcast in both Let It Fly locations before the Creighton game, obviously, on Thursday, and then before the set of games on Friday. So come on early. The doors are open at 10. Get a seat, and hey, we'll break it all down for you. But I do want to mention Pro Group, a firm which specializes in customized plans for clients, including but not limited to custom stock models, options, strategies for hedging, or covered calls for income, or triple tax exempt bond ladders for tax exposure. They have something for everyone in their financial wellness. So check them out. That's Kroger Group. I really thank them for the sponsorship. And you can also reach them and give them a call at 402-262-0999. That's Kroger Group. All right. Well, wealth management and insurance solutions. Thank you, Mr. Chapman. How you doing, buddy? Beautiful day.
Yeah, yeah. Not mad at it. Not mad at it. Watching the new boys eat some dinner, but yeah.
Wait till Wednesday when we have a blizzard again. That's nice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
let me run through some real stuff here real quickly before we get back to basketball talk. So, just want to get you caught up on the spring sports. The women's softball team is not doing as well as they were earlier when we checked in with them. They got swept this weekend by Villanova. They're now 11-12 on the season. They had their midweek games already got canceled because of the weather, but they're hoping this weekend to play Seattle at the CU Sports Complex. So get out there and watch that. That's the Creighton women's softball team. Baseball took 2 out of 3 from San Francisco. It's kind of what they've been doing lately is winning series. So a really, really great start for them. And they're back home. Their game got moved to tomorrow night from Wednesday to tomorrow because of the weather. So I believe they're going up against South Dakota State, if I remember correctly. Jay's now 10-5, and I just looked, they're 31st in the RPI. They're top 40 right now.
Okay. All right.
That's getting it done. Yeah, South Dakota State tomorrow night, 6:00, and then the weekend series. They are home, so if you're just tired of watching basketball, get out to the park. 6:00 Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on noon on Sunday against St. Mary's. They used to have a decent, not too bad of a baseball program there at St. Mary's, but we'll see how they are this year.
Yeah.
All right, now we want to get back to the women. We were talking about the women last night, and yeah, their game is at 6:15 on Saturday, down in a place called Austin, Texas. Were you named after Austin, Texas?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I know where my middle name comes from. I couldn't tell you that. I think my real name was supposed to be Alexander, but that's my cousin's middle name. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
just about.
Austin, Texas. Jays are there, taking on Illinois at 6:15 Saturday. Let's hope the Jays. I think if the Jays win and Auburn win, I would bet that game will be the first game Saturday because they generally put on like one of the top teams to play that game. And Duke is in a Friday site, and so is Florida, I believe. Yeah, Florida is too. So it would be us or Houston, either one of those games.
There.
I think Creighton's got enough of a name brand that people are, oh, Creighton, all right. And they would throw that game on. And they're kind of standalone games too. So that's kind of exciting. But
Yeah.
I would think there's probably a pretty good chance that game it goes early on Saturday, which would be great. Then it doesn't interfere with the women's game. So
Yeah.
excellent. That 6:15 Saturday they take on Illinois to move on to probably play Texas that would be on Monday. All right. Now that you had to sleep on it, have you changed your bracket?
Haven't changed the bracket. I actually did I don't know, I got a little belief, I guess, last night. So I put the boys over Auburn. But it's me being yeah, I guess. But having a lot of faith in the boys and hoping Fedora's healthy, right? Of course.
Yeah, that's got to be a
Definitely,
big key.
that's huge. We're definitely going to need him, I believe, to beat them if we
Well,
have
they're
any
leaving.
there.
They're
So
leaving tomorrow, so I'm hoping to maybe slip down there in the morning if I have a chance to
yeah.
kind of check. I'm sure they're
They
going to
head
practice.
out. What time they head out? Probably right after.
Ross said he's got to be leaving around noon or so.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to practice in the morning.
Yeah.
So if it's not at 6 a.m., I'll go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mac love those.
Yeah, I know it. Got to get them up, get moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
so,
Well,
but they got to kind of get adjusted. They got to get up really early on Thursday too.
yeah. Yeah. He might as well go ahead and figure it out.
Get into that mode.
Absolutely.
I'm still upset that the High Point game's the same time as Creighton game.
Yeah.
And that's a real upset special too.
Yep. Yep. So who do you have there?
I like High Point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Purdue's 3-5 in their last 8 games.
Yeah.
Now the reason the committee does not use the last 10 anymore. They did a study on it. There is nothing that says you play bad coming into the tournament, you're going to be bad in the tournament. They could not find any evidence of that. It was back and forth. There was no sure thing. So that's why they don't count that anymore. But yeah, I kind of like that. I'm more strong on some of these other. I was just talking with Ross. You'll like what he had to say too. He kind of agrees with us on Xavier.
Okay.
Like it go ways, but I think if they did that, like Kentucky, that's their style. Okay,
Right.
if they get to Tennessee,
Yeah.
Xavier doesn't play good enough defense. They just
No.
don't.
No.
Tennessee would have their way offensively and shut them down on
Yep.
the other end, and that could get ugly actually. So
I
yeah,
got a respect for Barnes over there too. That's a Texas guy. So
I
yeah.
haven't looked. My wife and I decided we're going to look seriously at the brackets tomorrow night, so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, watching that first play-in game. So, that's the crazy thing about, you have Selection Sunday, you have a whole day of like complaining about the picks and so forth, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, there's games tomorrow.
Game started. Yeah. So if you don't get started, then it's going to be too
So
late.
we have North Dakota. No, here's the interesting thing too, and I didn't notice this until today when I looked at the bracket a little closer. Generally, they'll try and get Thursday sites to play tomorrow, Friday sites to play Wednesday. They can put a Friday site to play tomorrow, and that's what they did with the play. Both play-in games are Friday games. They're both I think in the same site actually.
I gotcha.
So that's kind of an interesting caveat. But anyway, we've got San Diego State, North Carolina tomorrow, right?
Oh yeah. You're still upset about that one, I would have to imagine.
Hey, you know what? John Rothstein's pretty much down the middle, doesn't take sides. He came out today and said in his 20 years of following college basketball, that's the most egregious decision he's ever seen.
Fair.
That's a pretty strong statement from John.
Okay. Fair.
I did not hear that. I just saw a blurb on the internet, and I'm gonna have to go back and find it later. But I guess Bill has said something too. I saw Seth Davis on Dan Patrick today. He's an ACC guy, and he said no way should they be in. So
Can't have
and
that is
it all comes back to West Virginia. Did you see West Virginia's doing some investigation?
Really?
Well, it came out today that the North Carolina athletic director gets $100,000 bonus for the team making the NCAA tournament.
Oh, gotcha.
So you can say all you want, you weren't in the room.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, right. It's speculation.
Hey, take care of me a little bit, all right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, they're doing investigation because they say,
Wow.
what'll happen is we've seen that before. I think there's other teams that have tried to do something. It never goes anywhere.
Right. Right. Just a little salty right now.
But I just think I've floated my idea this morning on the radio with Gary Sharp about putting the Wally Zerbiaks of the world, Jay Wrights of the world on the committee. He liked it.
Mhm.
He said, yeah, they got to do something different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it should look a little different. Even these broadcasters, right? Like some of these analysts, I think I would
They're
almost,
watching.
I would prefer them rather than,
They got to watch a lot of games, right?
have
Because they're
to.
doing games all the time, especially Wally's doing that. Wally does that late night CBS show a lot,
Right.
so
Right.
he's got to know teams all across the country. And,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And watching it
yeah,
more.
I would love for them to change the format and get some other people in there
Right.
because, again, and nothing against these athletic directors, but they've got a lot on their plates, man.
Got way too much on their plates to be. Yeah,
You know?
let me check out the UC Davis game. Right.
Yeah, well, it was like Bruce when I think he was committee chair. He would
Yeah.
maybe not committee chair, but when he was vice chair, I know he would do his. He'd have to go to these sites, like we talked about last night, and monitor these sites. He would jump on a plane and go to the other site if Creighton was playing in the opposite site and go watch them play the next day.
Right.
And it's just Um,
All tough.
any more thoughts about Creighton Thursday?
No, I just know we're gonna have to bring one of our best games. I know that. We definitely can't go in there lacking somewhat
No.
of a home game. That's for sure. Right. It's hour and a half from where they are, so they will be in abundance. And
Yeah,
hopefully those Kentucky fans.
I'm just not. They have a gaudy record, obviously.
They do, but
Chucky's very good defensively. Got some good defensive players. The guy inside isn't any offensive threat, so that's kind of like the way we like to play defense with that drop coverage. So that might work pretty well. Have they seen a guy like Calk? I don't know.
right.
And the other thing I just don't. Again, it gets back to the ACC. Like, I'm just not sure how good night in, night out the competition they played.
That's
Ross
fair.
kind of jumped ahead to the Auburn game and said the one thing he worries about, which is a legitimate concern, is how good Auburn. People don't think about it, but Auburn's really good defensively.
Right.
And I said, well, we just played St. John's twice in like 3 weeks, so I don't think you're going to find anybody that's more dedicated to defense than St. John's,
Yeah.
and has athletes like Auburn. Frankly,
Right.
Auburn's just more talented offense.
Yeah. AP came out today, right? Had them at 11. Is that right? I think.
Who at 11?
Louisville.
Oh yeah.
So it's just like, I mean, I don't know. They've been playing good as of late.
Sounds like they've got a chip on their shoulder where they were seated, which they rightly should have.
Right. Which, I guess we could have some argument there a little bit, but I don't know. I think it's really going to be one of the best games, first round games, honestly. I think they're more or less evenly matched.
I like the fact that we played in a lot of tight situations, a lot of tight games. This team, generally speaking, has responded to those situations.
Absolutely.
If we can just keep our keep McAndrews calm when he's shooting the basketball. Just take your time. Trout too.
Yep.
The other guys just handle the basketball. Don't turn it over. Turnovers, make your free throws. That's what wins NCAA tournament games.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And don't give up a ton of offensive rebound.
I mean, yeah, we need to just shoot halfway decent. I think if we shoot halfway decent, we handle majority of our games, which we haven't shot that well. And I don't know. When was the last game that you thought we shot it that well? I guess the start of what was that?
Start of Butler
game, right?
Butler, yeah.
And
that was mostly Ashworth,
right?
Basically,
right.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I just don't feel we've had that game where everybody's like hitting on all cylinders yet. Which
but
I think
people say Mac is really hard to game plan for. So
You said
They
hard
do
to
have
what?
3 days, okay,
Hard to what?
but hard to game plan for.
Oh
You know,
yeah, I mean, a
what
guy
we
that has
do
the
is
playbook the way he does, like
right,
I want to say freshman year, I had to learn like
and
60.
it's hard to game plan the defense because you don't have a guy in practice that can simulate call for the most part, and so. I'm just hoping that offensively, maybe on our offense, we're going to get maybe a little better looks than we've had the last couple. Little more, maybe a little more space.
Fair, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one, but
The other thing I like is the guys know Chucky.
right.
Sure, they played plenty of summer league pickup games.
You would have to think, but it's a little bit different game now, right?
Oh yeah, but I mean, at least they know.
Defensive player of the year. When are you defensive player of the year? Or am I
Uh,
wrong?
you could be right. I'm not sure.
That's kind of my thing too. So it's like, I don't know. I just really want to see the ball get tipped up, and I'm just hoping we're healthy. Really, right now, I don't think we don't know that yet, but I'm
I
just,
would.
I'm
I don't.
hoping.
I'm not holding out a lot of hope on Fedora.
I know, and I feel like to make a really deep run, we're gonna need Fedora.
But
Granted,
I think the way he was bouncing around. But it's that next day. That's the key, right?
right?
The way he's bouncing around, it wasn't like he was on crutches or had the ankle wrapped or anything.
Right.
He was taped up and ready to go back in if they would let him.
True. True.
Um, the
True.
other thing is, we're having a couple days. We're not playing, 2 days or 3 days later. We're playing 4 days later, so that helps.
I
So
believe it's the same ankle, right? That was this. I'm pretty
he's had problems with both, but the
bad,
one
right?
was really bad.
I think yeah, if I remember correctly, but
The one I was there for the one at practice when he
yeah,
just made the
yeah,
sweetest step back move and hit a 3-point jumper. It was so, picturesque. And he came down and
yeah, yeah,
God,
glass ankles.
it was
Yeah.
horrible.
So I don't know. I don't know. Of course, the big fellow and Ash are gonna do their thing, last hurrah. But we're just, I guess, hopefully Jason Green comes out, right? Again, this is kind of when
Yeah,
he
there we
kind of
go.
performed, right? So like, he kind of had a good performance two
Mac,
games ago. So hopefully his confidence still rolling. Maybe
Mac needs
Mason
to have
Miller
that
comes
speech with
in,
him again.
hit a couple, right? Mason Miller
Yeah,
comes in and treats us
he
well.
he just needs to have that speech with him again. Then we're ready to go. So,
Yeah.
all right. So anyway, let's set it up for you. So we're going to be
Sure.
down at Let Fly at 10:30. So come at 10. You can watch our show. We'll get you set for Creighton in Louisville. Then afterwards, we'll do the post-game show, and then we'll do another pregame show on Friday down there. Another big watch party for the Friday games. And so that's what's ahead of us this week. And we'll be back, win or lose. We'll be back Monday to kind of get you all set up for. We can't say that for sure. The women's game's going on at the same time. We won't have a show because everybody be watching the women. But we'll let you know if we have a show next week or not. But at some point if not then the next Monday we'll have a show to kind of either we're going to the Final Four or we'll put a cap on the season, one of the two. And then, sorry, there's gonna be a lot of golf talk on here, man.
Yep, it's time. It's time to get that match going here, Tim.
I should have went out and played today.
Get that match going. It's time.
All right. Austin, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. Thanks to our great sponsors, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah.